You know, have you ever really stopped to think about what happens to your phone, your laptop, or even your washing machine when it just gives up? Well, today we're going to look at Tunisia. There's this hidden environmental crisis unfolding there, but also a really surprising solution is starting to pop up. Okay, let's get into it.
And it all kicks off with something we all have in our pockets, right? I mean, in Tunisia, just like pretty much everywhere else, mobile phones are completely essential to daily life. But just how many are we actually talking about here?
Get this, 9 million. 9 million mobile phones are active in the country right now. That is almost one phone for every single person. And the thing is, every single one of them has an expiration date.
And of course, it's not just about phones, right? You've got to add in the big stuff. We're talking an estimated 8 million large home appliances. You know, your fridges, your TVs, washing machines, they're basically the workhorses of our modern lives.
So, that leads us right to the big question. The whole point of this explainer, really. When all of these millions and millions of devices break, where do they all go? And let me tell you, the answer is way more complicated and honestly more worrying than you'd probably guess.
Okay, first things first, we need to wrap our heads around just how massive this problem is. We're not talking about some little pile of old gadgets here. No, we're talking about a literal mountain of electronic waste.
So check this out. Every single year, Tunisia produces about 75,000 tons of e-waste. Now, to give you a sense of what that even means, that's like the weight of more than 400 blue whales. And remember, that's just in 1 year.
Now, what's really fascinating here is seeing how Tunisia stacks up globally. The average person there creates about 6.4 kilos of e-waste a year. Okay, so what? Well, that's more than double the average for Africa. It kind of puts the country in this tricky middle spot. Not as high as Europe for sure, but way ahead of its neighbors.
All right, so what exactly is in this giant electronic mountain? Well, it's this really weird mix of seriously hazardous stuff and incredibly valuable materials. It really is a toxic treasure trove.
I mean, these devices are just packed with nasty stuff. We're talking about things like mercury, which is terrible for your nervous system, plus lead, cadmium, and these flame retardants. And when all this e-waste just gets dumped in a landfill, all those toxins can seep right into the soil and the water.
And look, this isn't some abstract theoretical problem. This is real. Back in 2021, people living near these overflowing landfills in Tunisia were out protesting because they were directly connecting the pollution to serious health issues in their communities. The human cost is absolutely real.
But here's the flip side. That exact same toxic waste is also full of valuable stuff. In 2019 alone, across the Arab region, an estimated $3 billion worth of metals like gold and copper were just thrown away. That is a mind-blowing economic loss.
So you have to ask, right? If this stuff is so dangerous on one hand and so valuable on the other, why isn't it being handled properly? Well, that brings us to a huge breakdown in the system, what we can call the recycling gap.
Okay, brace yourself for this number, because it is just wild. Tunisia's official documented collection rate for all this e-waste is just 0.1%. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. That is not 1%. It is 1/10 of 1%.
And this chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. Think about it like this. For every 1,000 broken gadgets, only one gets properly recycled. The other 999, they just end up in regular landfills or informal dumps, which is a huge threat to the environment and people's health. The system, to put it bluntly, has almost completely failed.
But it is not all doom and gloom, not at all. Because out of this massive challenge, a really powerful solution is starting to bubble up from the ground level. It's a movement you could call the repair revolution.
And if you want to understand just how powerful repair can be, look no further. Fixing just one used washing machine saves over a ton of new raw materials that we would have had to dig up to build a new one. The impact of choosing to repair something instead of just replacing it, it's absolutely massive.
Now, this whole idea, it's part of a much bigger concept called the circular economy. So instead of our usual straight line of take, make, throw away, it's about creating a loop, a circle where we're constantly reusing, repairing, and refurbishing things to get rid of waste altogether.
And you know what? Local startups in Tunisia are already making this happen. Companies like one called WeFix have this simple but brilliant model.
They go out, they collect broken appliances, they fix them up, and then they sell that refurbished tech for a much more affordable price. I mean, it's a win-win-win.
And you can actually measure their impact. In 2024 alone, just one of these startups kept 80 tons of e-waste from ever hitting a landfill. So this isn't just some nice idea or a theory, it's a real, working solution that's happening as we speak.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture here. This shift from a throwaway culture to a repair culture, it actually has the power to turn waste into wealth for the entire country.
When you lay it out like this, the choice is pretty stark, isn't it? On one path, you've got the status quo, toxic landfills, wasted resources, health problems. But on the other path, you've got a future built on skilled jobs, saving valuable materials, and getting affordable technology into the hands of families.
And the good news is, the official policy seems to be slowly but surely catching up. So Tunisia's main waste law is pretty old, from 1996. But right now, the government is drafting new polluter pays rules. Basically, this would make the companies that import electronics help pay for managing them when they die. It's a huge step towards making producers responsible for their products from beginning to end. So why is this such a big deal? Why does this all matter? Well, because when you embrace repair, you're conserving resources, you're creating skilled local jobs, you're cutting down on toxic pollution, and you're making technology more affordable for everyone. It really tackles economic, environmental, and social problems all at the same time. So we'll leave you with this thought. The work these small startups are doing proves that a different future isn't just a dream, it's actually possible. So the real question becomes, if one little repair shop can have this much impact, what can an entire nation of repairers, backed by smart policy and public support, really achieve?